So next we'll see this rectangular marquee tool here. So this rectangular marquee tools are used to create the selections in particular areas. And if you want to make a copy in another project, you can copy, or if you want to duplicate, you can duplicate here also. Means for example, suppose like if you select this rectangular marquee, and if I want to copy this image and if I want to paste in any other document, let's say if I take any new document here. So now if I want to paste this particular character, so just we can left click and drag so that we can able to select. And before like pasting, just we need to copy, Control C, and just we need to come to this document and just we need to press Control V here. So if you press Control V, directly it will paste. So whatever the area you have selected, it will just copy. And make sure while copying, you have to like select the layer here. If you're not selecting the layer, it will not copy. So you need to select Control C and just come here, Control V. Or else if you want to make a copy here itself, then you can directly press Control J. So as I explained in the previous class, if you want to duplicate, just we can press Control J so that it will duplicate the selected area here. Okay. If you are not making any selection, it will duplicate entire layer. If you are making any selections, then it will create only the selected part. And here in the selection tools, we have 4 types of selections actually. So here the first one which we are using is like new selection. New selection is nothing but whenever we draw, it will create a new selection. Suppose in case if you want to create a multiple selections, let's say I want to select this character and this character here. So like if I select this, now say it is deselecting. So what the thing is here, there is a next option called add to selection. So what is this add to selection is like if you select this, it will make a multiple selection and you can like copy, paste here, or else you can paste in another project here in this way. Until unless if you want the individual characters, then we have to make a single selections. If you because it is creating in a single layer here. If you see here, it is creating a single layer. If you want each and every character should be in the separate layer, then manually compulsory you have to create only one selection, copy, paste here. And even though we can delete the selections areas also, not only copy, if you don't want this, you can select and you can directly delete on this keyboard here. It will delete the pixels over there here. Okay. And if you want to delete half of the image, you can select the half of the image and directly you can select and you can delete here in this way. So if you want to extend, we can extend the selection also. Means for example, suppose if you have created a selection up to here only. Now let's say I want to extend the selection because I have not covered this part here. So by using this add to selection only, what we need to do is just we need to overlap 1 or 2 pixels so that it will extend the selection here. You have to overlap and draw the selection. If you're not overlapping, it is creating a gap in between the selection. If you are overlapping at least 1 or 2 pixels, then it will extend the selection here. Yeah. And also if you have bigger selection, then if you want to subtract, then we need to go to this third option, like subtract from selection. So if you select this and if you overlap, so how much the selection will be overlapped, third part will be deselected, means like subtracted here in this way. So we have shortcuts for this thing, means like suppose if you are in the new selection, so if you want to make an add selection, no need of going and selecting here, directly you have to shift and drag so that it will add the selection. Shift and drag. Yeah. So not only for this selection, actually you have to remember like in entire all the tools, all the selection tools in the Photoshop, to add, we need to use an shift. To subtract, we need to use an alt. So shift is for add and alt is for making a subtraction. And the fourth one is intersection. So intersection is nothing but wherever the 2 selections will be overlap, it will select third part here. In this way, means like see, suppose if I come here, first I will delete this. So if I select this and see now, let's say if I use the elliptical tool to show you. So if I go to this intersect, now whatever the selections has been overlapped, it will select only third part here. The remaining everything will be deselected here. And for this intersection, we have a shortcut like shift, alt and drag. Shift, alt and drag for the intersection. Shift is for add, like adding, Alt is for like subtracting, and Shift Alt is for intersection. So we have a feather also. Like feather is nothing but adding the smoothness to the edges here. Means like suppose like let's say if I delete if I take an empty layer here, just I will delete this. Okay. So now let's say if I select this character. So let's say if I select this, and in the rectangular tool, let's say now defaultly the feather is 0. Suppose let's say if I make a selection of this one, Control C, and if I press Control V here, now we are getting an harder edges. In some situations, suppose if I want this image to should be like blend in background or something with a smoother edges, then we need to add a feather here. Means like if you want to add a feather directly, let's say if I give like 5 pixels or something. So if I select this, and if I Control C, and if I Control V, now you can see we have a feather over these edges here. Okay, if you want to add a smoothness to the edges, we need to add a feather here. Means like if you want to be blend more, then we need to give more pixels actually. Means like suppose if I give like 60, like 100 or something, if I create this, you will get more blending option here. Means more likely it will blend into the background without the harder edges. It depends on our situations, how you want to show the image. In that way, we can give the feather here. What the thing is, this feather is useful when we are changing the background of the characters also. Means for example, suppose if I open this image here. Now, if you want to change the background, what the thing is actually, if you see, there is little bit of like blurry around these edges here. So when we create, when we crop this image, let's say if I select this image, and if I delete this background here, let's say without feather. So if I go to inverse and delete. So what the thing is, when we change the background, if you are not having the harder edges, means like if you are not having the few what we select smoother edges, then it will look like an patchy kind of thing here. So what the thing is, if you want to make it natural for every character when you're cropping, just we need to give 1 or 2 pixels so that it will be look natural here. So that I will cover when I show this pixel selection tools and everything here. Okay. So now what the thing is, suppose in case if the feather is 0 here, and if you left click and drag, now suppose if you want to add a feather for the existing selection, because now feather is 0, but I want to add the feather to the existing selection. So if you want to add a feather for the existing selection, we need to press Shift F6. Shift F6 to add the feather for the existing selection. So you can give whatever feather you want, like 5 or something. And if you click on OK, so it will add the feather for the existing selection. And if you see here, the selection has become a little bit roundness over these corners here. That means we have added the feather. Previously with the 0 feather, we have a sharper edges. And if you add feather, then it will create a smoother edges here. And in case what the thing is, in some laptops, we need to use the function keys by using the FN button. Means like some laptops, you need to use the FN button. You can see in your keyboard, like you will have a function key with like FN. So sometimes some laptops will directly we will use the function keys, but some keys what some laptops will have an option like we have to press FN and some function key. So in these cases, if you want to add a feather, we need to use Shift FN and F6, like Shift function and F6 here. And if you want to deselect the selection, we have to press Control D. If you want to hide the selection, we need to press Control D. D for down key. And also, if you are not remembering the shortcut, we need to go to this like select, and there is an option like deselect here. Means if you make any selections and if you want to deselect, select, and there is an option deselect here, like Control D. And also if you want to create the previous selections, we need to use this reselect, Control Shift D. Means like see, suppose if you have deselected here, again if you want the same selection, same size, same area, then again we need to use the reselect, so that again you will get the same selection here. So this is a marquee tool here, and there are some styles which is like normal. So if you left click and drag, so however means like it depends on your mouse, it will create the selection here. Suppose if you have like fixed ratio, means if I type the 16:9 ratio. See, it will create a selection which matches to the 16:9 ratio of the selection area here in this way. Means like even though if you drag the mouse up and down, still it will create the selection based on the ratio which we have given. Yeah, 16:9 here. And there are some fixed size also in case if you want to create like say let's say like 300 by 500. Now it will create the selection only in the 300 width and 500 pixels of height here. You can change, for example, if I type like 400 by 800, then it will create the selection only 400 by 800 here. Yeah, it's a fixed size here. So the elliptical tool is also same. And also one thing is like, suppose if you are in the normal and if you want to create the perfect square selection, then we need to hold shift and drag so that you will get only the perfect square selection here. If you are not holding shift, then it will make an rectangular shape here. And same like an ellipse is also same. You will have the same options like adding, subtracting, intersection, adding the feather, like style, everything is same. And if you want the perfect circle, we need to hold and shift here. If you're not holding shift, then it will make an elliptical selection here. And in case if you want to select any single row pixels, then we can use this option like single row marquee tool. Means like if you zoom in. So like if I select one pixel, so it will select entire row of pixels over the end of the canvas here in this way. Yeah. So if you want to create an 2-3 extra selections, then we need to be in this add to selection. So it will add an 2-3 pixels also. And if you want to select it vertically, then we need to use this single column marquee tool here. Like it will select the vertical selections here. And at a time you can use the horizontal also by using the add option in this way. Laterally, what the thing is, we can add the colors in these selections. I will show you now how to fill the colors in this thing. So this is a marquee tool here. Now we'll see how to create the colors for the backgrounds also. Means like, say, suppose if you and now, okay, first I will take a new document. So select, I will select a new document. Now let's say I've taken this document and if I want to fill with any other colors here, let's say here you can select the colors also. Like there is a like foreground and background color. Let's say if you want to change the color here, just we need to left click and you can select whatever the color you want. And now what the thing is, if you want to fill with this green color, make sure we need to select the background and we need to press Alt backspace to fill the color. Alt backspace. So if you select this foreground color, sorry, like background color, let's say if I put it to like red or something, let's say if we want to fill this red color, then we need to use the control backspace, like background color. So the first one will call it as an foreground color, second one will call it as an background color. So if you want to fill the background color, we need to use the control backspace. If we want to fill the foreground color, we need to use the alt backspace. So if you want to switch, you can switch the colors here. And what the thing is, suppose if you create any selections here, let's say if I make any selection, and now if I use the Alt backspace or Control backspace, it will fill only in the selected area. Means if there is no selection, then it will fill entire layer. If there is any selections, then it will fill only in the selected part here. And also what the thing is, in case if you want to add any colors over this corners of these images or something, what the thing is, better we need to take a new layer instead of pasting onto the original layer. What the thing is, suppose see if I select this area and if I paste any color here, let's say I will paste the red color on this original image. Now I will deselect. Let's say if in laterally you want to change the positions of this color or if you want to scale this color, you cannot do because as we have pasted onto the original layer, so we cannot make an individual change for this color here. So that's why what the thing is, when you are making this kind of selections, so when you are making this kind of filling colors, then we need to take a new layer here, empty layer. So in the layer panel, bottom right, you can see there is an option like new layer. And there is a shortcut for the creating new layer. It's Control Shift N. So if you press Control Shift N, then it will create a new layer. And if you want to give the name, you can give the name and click on OK. So what the thing is, this is a complete empty layer. So if I hide this, so this is a complete empty layer where there is no pixels. So what the thing is, when you make an selections, so before pasting, sorry, I have to use this one. So before pasting, we need to select the empty layer instead of selecting the original layer. So if you select this empty layer and if you fill this, so laterally what the thing is, if you want to change the positions, you can individually change the positions. And if you want to scale, you can Control T and scale. And if you want to delete also, you can delete here. So that is the advantage of creating the new layer and filling into the new layer here. So in this way, we can add the colors by using this foreground and background colors, like by holding Alt backspace and Control backspace here. Or else we can use Control delete, Alt delete also. Like both are same. Alt backspace, Control backspace, and Control delete, Alt delete. Both are same. Yeah.